From our perspective here, the sun is moving on and going into gateway number 6. And this is the last of these 8 hexagrams that started out from what in traditional I-Ching has been called the army, which I prefer to call uniformity, like getting on the same page together. And now we've gone through 8 of these hexagrams that have the bottom 3 chop marks, broken, solid, broken, which is the symbol for Khan, which is danger, which is the depth, which is deep water. And when we came to the 29, we had a duplicate of the broken, solid, broken, and then broken, solid, broken on top of it. And the 29, the gateway in the traditional I-Ching called the abysmal, the deep within the deep, but also seeing it as the possibility for saying yes, committing. So here we are, we're in the last one of these, and this is gateway number 6. And gateway number 6 in traditional I-Ching is called conflict, friction. I prefer to call it conflict resolution, right? So my concept here is to include the possibility for emotional intelligence, for emotional evolution, because we find that the 6th gateway is in the corner of the emotion center. And we can see from the wheel here, we just go back a little bit. Oh yes, 4 or 5 gates backwards, we had the 59. And 59 was this gateway of dispersion, scattering our seeds, looking for ways in which we can interrelate, looking for transparency in our relationships with people. And so the 59 links with the 6 to make up this channel, connects between the sacral center, the sex center, the center of life force energy, and the emotion center, the solar plexus center, through this channel of intimacy. So the 6th gateway, basically, if we're considering the 59 is putting out seeds, putting out possibilities, it wants those seeds to be in a place or a situation where they can prosper. So we see also this channel as the channel of procreation. The sperm and the egg meet up, and the 6 provides the environment in which that fertilization can take place. So we could say, very much to do with body chemistry. It can do with all the emotional scenarios going on around the seed and the egg coming together. But the 6 provides that environment. So, yeah, conflict, the seed is penetrating into the egg, is one viewing of it. It's also, the 59-6 is very much a birthing process of creative ideas as well, that are put forward for the community, for the world. As I say, I prefer to call the 6 conflict resolution. It's all about finding an emotional balance. So what we can say about the emotion center generally, there are 9 centers in the human design chart, and what we've come to find is the emotion center is very much a center that requires our attention, because it's the center that relates directly to war, fighting, domestic violence, addictions, autism, all kinds of breathing problems, digestive problems, everything relating to sex, food, drugs, and rock and roll, all the ups and downs of life. So the 6th gateway is like is the access point for energy coming from the sacral energy, from this expansive energy, coming into the emotional realm, which ultimately is the realm of pleasure. Right? Where do we derive our pleasure? Now, in some respects, we see some very weird ways in which we get pleasure, but it is part of the human story. So the 6th gateway is literally the gateway that controls the environment of the whole emotional scene. So whether it's in terms of intimacy and procreation, or whether it's in terms of how do the emotions get lived out, the 6th gateway tends to control how the emotions get to be expressed. Friction. Without friction, nothing happens in life. So we see it emotional balance by dispassionately monitoring changing feelings. The needs of any moment or situation are recognized. right? It's constantly monitoring. Where are the feelings? Are they going up? Are they going down? Where are they? And that's the thing about the emotion center. They are always in some kind of an emotional flux, up and down, up and down, up and down. The whole question is, are we attached? It's got to be like this. I'm supposed to feel like this. And then, of course, the feeling goes the other way. It's like, I don't like feeling like this. And so we develop the pattern of emotion that brings us into addictions or brings us into certain ways in which we really can't play intelligently with our emotions. So the sixth gate is very consequential in this one. Sometimes deliberately taking a pause to reevaluate, in the heat of the moment. When there's a big emotional scene going on, is this the great time to be making decisions? Is this, or is this the great time to kind of let loose and let it rip? Well, in some circumstances, yes, when the emotions are really high like that and it's something pleasurable and it's not destructive. Fantastic. But what we're saying here is finding that emotional balance. What is the reality in it all? Where's the balance in terms of how we get to express our emotions? Emotion is intertwined with and grows in wisdom through intimate contact with all aspects of life. This is a huge understanding, right? Where do we get our emotional EQ from, our emotional quotient? Instead of the IQ, the EQ. And it's by playing with life. And the sixth gateway is one that's regulating how emotion gets expressed. And it's saying sometimes it's great to take a pause, before reacting. The body's pH, the acidity, alkalinity in the body, that is get controlled by the sixth gateway chemically. The internal balance between acidity and alkalinity. So I know all of us can tell that we're a little bit acid today, a little bit sharp today, a little bit one today, a little bit too alkaline today. And we're always just seeking to find that balance in things in our lives. And it really does affect how we play out in the world around us. So if we say that the gate has traditionally been called conflict, friction, and I'm agreeing, that nothing much happens in life without friction. We can't find pleasure without, going through some kind of an experience to have it. We can't go into pain without having it. But the thing is not to get attached to these two extremes of things. You're going to have pleasure, you're going to have pain. Both are there. They're part of the same wave pattern. And so the sixth gateway is always monitoring this. How far am I going to go with this? Am I just going to go to the extremes of the waves? The extreme up and then the extreme down. Or am I going to watch myself in these waves as the waves come through me? And the sixth gateway is always in that position to be able to regulate the wave patterns. So let's have a look at the line information. There are 6 lines here. And we start off with the first line, right? We're talking about conflict resolution. The first line is called negotiating. The easiest time to resolve a disagreement is before it starts, right? There's a little bit of friction, a little bit of a buzz in the air here. The easiest way to resolve it, hey, do we need to fight about this? Can we talk about it? Can we work it out? And the thing with the emotions is they're always a bit tricky. People that have the emotion center colored in and defined, they are always in this emotional wave. Anybody who has the center undefined, they are subject to those people that have the center colored in. So you may have it undefined, but you're bombarded with everybody else's emotional stuff, overwhelmed by it. You may be the one person who's extraordinarily emotional all the time, but it's just because you're picking up everybody else's emotional stuff. It's nothing to do with you. It's just you're running the emotions through you. Yeah, you're the one that's having the feelings, but they've been triggered from the connections that you have around you. And those of us that have it colored in, we have to be really responsible for our emotions. We can't just go around the world loosing it off all over the place and blaming everybody else for the ways they react back, right? So first line, very important thing, conflict resolution, negotiate, before there's an upset, can we work this thing out? There's a bit of a friction here. Can we work it out? And if there's just too much heat, we might put it off a day or a couple of days. Let's meet again. There's too much energy in the room here. This is not a situation in which these things can get worked out. The easiest time to resolve a disagreement before it starts. With any potential emotional upset, biding your time is often the most intelligent solution. Now, that doesn't mean to say carrying a cannonball of emotional energy around with you in your belly. That has to be released somehow or other. I thoroughly recommend learning breathing practices if this is something that assaults you on a regular basis. If you're constantly carrying this emotional trauma around in your belly, then have a good look at learning some breathing exercises, or go through a workshop where you learn all about breath and breathing. You think back to the moment we were born, what was the ending result of the conception? We come out into the world. We come out of a place where we're not breathing, where we got a constant oxygen supply, and all of a sudden we have to learn how to breathe. And very many of us don't actually learn how to do it properly. We just, keep the breath up here in the chest somewhere instead of completely filling the lungs. So when we fill the lungs, we have also that possibility of making the connection to the solar plexus, where this energy can be stored as a cannonball of energy, a big rock in your belly. And so releasing that energy one way or another is worth really looking at. Here, the upper line of it, the Pluto gives the energy. You have the emotional power and growing maturity to be intimate in all phases of life. Like if you're really in that state of being able to negotiate, it's like I recognize that the energy is coming my way. There's always emotional energy. So what? I'm so comfortable in myself. I have the power in myself. I'm so connected in my own design. It doesn't faze me. That I can negotiate. I can work out any kind of a dispute at any time. It doesn't bother me at all. With Mercury, the emotional insecurity in times of intimacy triggers you to attempt to intellectualize feelings. Right? Doesn't work. Trying to intellectualize feelings, I think I feel like this. It's like, no, not the same thing at all. Feelings are in the belly button or around that area of the body. And so that's why I say breathing is so essential. You take the breath down there, you actually can connect into the emotional center there. You don't have to get fazed by anything, but that's really part of it. The second line here, which has this all natural quality about things, this very innocent side to things, this has this sensibility. Conflicts easily erupt from a personal imbalance, right? Very uncertain in life, unsophisticated in a sense. Well, everybody else seems to be doing things. I'm a bit out of my depth here, can be the sense. In all emotionally charged situations, you find resolution with or without confronting others. Probably the key word there is confronting. Do you need to get in a fight with the second line? It's like if you don't really know what's going on, but you get all these feelings running through you. Trusting your natural sensitivity, you achieve an inner harmony that facilitates resolutions. That's the bottom line, inner harmony. The moment we put our energy on the outside, we try and compare or we relate to what it is the world's apparently doing to us, we lose our balance, right? So natural sensitivity to achieve inner harmony, right? Allow that to be. No distractions on the outside. Mars here has a very different story. Your touchy nature often attempts to resolve conflict through emotional outbursts. You just let it fly. And, there can be an evolving, what can I say, revolving arguments, but it's one that just gets more and more and more heated because the Mars energy just keeps throwing things. So very different between the two sides of what the second line here is. The natural way is trusting a natural sensitivity to find a way through. With the Mars way is to try and intellectualize it. Well, I feel like this because of this. And then there come the complications. The sixth line, the line called reservation. Now, six with the third line. The third line always has this kind of touch and go. Is this going to work or not? Can I really trust my feelings? Can I really get involved here or not? And it has a reservation. Growth comes by sometimes playing a passive role in finding resolutions. A little bit like the 47, let the answer come. Let the thing become relevant and clear before you jump into an emotional upset or dispute, or before you start looking to find a resolution. Achieving emotional clarity comes by making and breaking commitments with alertness. There it is. That's classic third line, is touch and go, make connection or break it. And when we're talking about the emotional realm, it's about being very, very clear. What are the circumstances that really need your involvement and not? In a sense, the emotions can be like a whirlpool. You get drawn into it, you get sucked into it somehow or other, into the emotional situation. And so what the third line is saying is, look, as with any chart, be aware of your type and authority. Just check in with yourself. Do I need to be here for this? Do I need to get drawn into this? What's my whole authority telling me? Is this something that really relates to me here? And if it's not, I can play a passive role. I'll just see you later. Achieving emotional clarity comes by making and breaking commitments with alertness. That's the bottom line, with alertness. It's not just I'm out of here every time there's a little disturbance. The depth and quality of your feelings enriches passion, union, and intimacy. You see, in the end, wherever there's friction, life is expanding. And that's the thing with the conflict resolution, we can resolve it by dissolving into intimacy. We absolutely agree to disagree, but we're the greatest friends. I mean, it's, this is what we're looking for on this planet. There's this tiny little planet in the middle of nowhere, and every time the web camera takes another photograph or something, we realize how tiny this little planet is, and all our kerfuffles about silly things. The idea that there's division on this planet still, there's still conflict on this planet, it's ludicrous. It's definitely reptilian understandings about life. We need to evolve. So much more is possible. And so the sixth gateway is so key in terms of helping us with this evolution. With Pluto here, sensitive to all power struggles, you may be tempted to reject intimacy altogether. I'm just done with this. I'm out of here. I'm not going to be involved in anything to do with any kind of emotional whatever. And that's the sixth with the third line. Just say, I can't trust it. I can't find a way to deal with this. Which is kind of sad in a way, but what to do? There can be that sense of overwhelm sometimes. We get to the fourth line with this conflict resolution, and the fourth line is, hey, come on, we can all be brothers and sisters here. If we think back to what was going on in the 59, the gateway of intimacy, and the fourth line, it was the line of being friends with everybody. And so the sixth with the fourth line has this same kind of concept, the same vibe. Peace, peace. A naturally strong emotional presence promotes enduring resolutions. A strong emotional presence. And you'll know if you've got the sixth with the fourth line, it's very easy for you to kind of ride through emotional outbursts and upsets. There may be a fire at the time, but sooner or later, you'll find the way to see, how do we resolve all of this? I bring peace. In all emotional interactions, you can easily promote outcomes on your terms, wisely or not. And that's the bottom line. Wisely is peace for everybody, or not is like, it's me for peace and the rest of you can sort yourselves out. So there's that possibility with the fourth line in this whole area of friction and upset or whatever. Is it we for me or we for all of us? And, peace is the bottom line. That's the possibility with conflict resolution. Your personal reform is your only recourse from a tendency to be disruptive in relationships. Right? Get that one really, really clearly. With the sun's energy here, you easily dominate relationships and support the advantages of emotional growth. Right? That's the plus side of it. That's the really, I'm engaging for the benefit of we. But the we for me is personal reform is my only recourse from a tendency to be disruptive in relationships. It's basically saying, the fourth line can literally put a burr in the works, put a spanner in the works in any relationship. Oh, it's not working, I'm going to be disruptive. And the fourth line can see exactly where to push the buttons, where to cause the upset. So many things possible with the sixth gateway. And I'm hopeful that it is a conflict resolution. And it's saying personal reform. You have to work it out. You have to do therapy. You have to work out what it is that upsets you, why it is you can't be comfortable with feelings and emotions. What's the story there? And I'm saying literally the easiest way is through breathing, finding out how to breathe properly. And any sense of tension or anxiety or stuff, it goes out with a sigh. Oh, yeah. The fifth line, right? The leadership line, the teacher line, the line of being diplomatic. And you'll know if you've got the sixth with the fifth line, it's just easy for you to resolve everybody's emotional upsets. Of course, you do it on your terms, type and authority. You trust that before you get in the middle. But literally, the fifth line can bang people's heads together if needed. Being diplomatic, combining emotional clarity with objectivity. The objectivity, what's the benefit for everybody if we can find this peace, tranquility, conflict resolution? We become friends, we make treaties, we become the best of neighbors. I mean, you look at the stuff that's happened in the world, where there's been wars and stuff, the contention that takes place. And then, you go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years after the war, and all of a sudden, there's these new bonds that have taken place, these new understandings. It's like, what on earth was the upset about before? I mean, hopefully this earth is moving towards that state very, very quickly. You promote concord through your neutrality, but find it hard to be really intimate yourself. And this is an issue with the fifth line. It's brilliant at sorting out everybody else's issues. You'll find this in any hexagram in a way. And in conflict resolution, this fifth line is always the diplomat in any partnership. But, there it is. Am I always having to sort out the thing for the family? It's like, can't people just, get their emotional clarity together without me having to sit in the middle and be the adjudicator, if you will? So your sensitivity to all facets of emotional upset leads you to promote harmony around you. And that's the sixth with the fifth line. It can bring about this harmony. Now, remember about fifth lines, there's always this projection. Hey, it's your job. You're always supposed to do this for us. You've got to bring peace. You've got to bring tranquility. And you may not feel like it, honestly. It may not be in alignment with your type and authority to do that. So be very, very clear about the projections around fifth lines. And particularly this one of being the diplomat in every circumstance. It's your job. Yes, you can see how everyone's misbehaving. But if you're not getting the call to be involved in it, leave it alone. Unless you are seen as being right, you can be insensitive to the emotional needs of others. And there's a thing, there's a difficulty with the fifth line. Somehow or other, there's this expectation that they need to be right all the time. And they can lose that sense of what actually do people need emotionally. I need to be right. I need to stay with that rightness. I need to be the diplomat that's head and shoulders above everybody else. But is this actually serving people that need this emotional clarity that I can bring? And then the sixth line, I call it being contentious, a capacity to win disputes and attract fresh ones. The sixth with the sixth line has this way, I can win this situation. I can win this argument, whatever. My way or the highway. I'm going to lay down the law here. And in certain circumstances, that works very well. But in certain circumstances, not so much. You have a knack for resolving emotional upsets, whether that directly serves others or not. Right? I can resolve it. So we're not going to have a dispute here. We're going to fix this thing one way or another, whether it works for you or not. Right? We're not going to have this fight. We're not going to have this upset. We're not going to have this friction here anymore. And here with Mercury, your emotional agility to resolve conflict by reasoning considers everyone concerned. Right? Your emotional agility to resolve conflict by reasoning. Right? The ultimate diplomat in a way. The ultimate, look, here's the rules. You got this going on, you got this going on. Let's find the common ground here. The other side of it, with the more harmonious input of Venus, you terminate emotional strife, but often considering only your own needs for harmony. You're surrounded by a ruckus, upsets on all sides. Boom, I'm putting my foot down here. Stop it. Right? You're not allowed to do this stuff. Go to jail. or go to the corner, or go on, you're grounded, or whatever it is, I'm not going to put up with this racket. My way or the highway. So the sixth gateway, as I say, it's really controlling the emotional environment ultimately. But when the sun goes through the sixth gateway, let's be watchful of seeing how do we play with this energy as it comes into our life? And can we actually start seeing our emotional quotient, our emotional intelligence rising? Do we have to be in conflict? Can we find resolution?